What's good, family? So mash the like button, subscribe, and lick off the bell. So, listen. Obviously, before the fight, I was backing Craig the Spider Richards, and I was imploring him to be great. Now, I ain't gonna lie to you. He certainly, you could tell he made a big improvement from the Bivol fight. I felt almost to a detriment at some extent, because Andy Lee said in the Bivol fight he was feinting a lot more. He was a lot more slippery. This fight he almost forgot about all that. In fact, I don't remember seeing him do one feint the whole night, and he was much more static. But it was almost as if he was trying to prove a point. And to be fair, he did every time, or 9 times out of 10. Whenever BUATSI put it on him, he'd fire back. So that box more or less, and he's got room for improvement, obviously. Now, at the end of the fight, Craig was basically sucking Eddie Hearn off. Oh, Eddie Hearn, thank you for this, thank you for that. Listen, don't thank Eddie Hearn for nothing. That fight was, honestly, yeah, if you're honest with yourself, that fight should have been a draw. That's God's honest truth, and I ain't gonna lie, did I have coin on the fight to be a draw? I did, but still, even scrap that, yeah. The fact of the matter is, the fight really should have been a draw. There was nothing in that fight. Especially when, and people laugh at me for this, but I mark fights different, yeah? I mark fights based on what I call a holistic view, in as much as, if you're the A side, yeah? If you're meant to be a big hard ass, you best show that, do you understand? If you're meant to be the big A side, and I see you in a 50-50 fight, you're lost, oops, do you understand? Otherwise, what's the point? If you're meant to be a big favourite, and you end up going 50-50, then the universe should remind you that you ain't what you thought you was. And BUATSI, yeah, supposed to be some big hard ass A side, and tonight that fight was nothing in that whatsoever. 50-50. Maybe 55-45 towards BUATSI. I do have to admit, I was expecting Craig Richards. I mean, in my pre-fight video, in BUATSI's been known to run out of gas. Now, it has to be said that, to be fair to both men, it was a much more strenuous fight. Yeah? Both men let heavy shots off. That said, I did expect Richards to come on stronger in the latter rounds. If that had been the case, well, in fact, I'm not even sure what the judges had. But no doubt there was, to some extent, there was a robbery tonight. Because, I mean, Tony Bellend. What a Bellend. Tony, yeah? You are a full-on Bellend. A proper nosher offer. Yeah? I've got. But Tony Bellend said after 7 rounds he had it 7-0. What a mongoloid, yeah? Tony, you're a proper DAZN Eddie Hearn sucker offer. I'd love to slap you in the face. Honestly, a proper mong. I'll tell you why else Tony Bellend's a mong, yeah? Tony, you got no integrity. You're a sellout arse licker, and you bet your bottom dollar you could be getting flown out to Dubai to get dumped on for some coin. Because guess what? Tony Bellend was slagging off Canelo. And now he's with DAZN. Oh, Canelo, give me some of your red juice. Give me some of your give me some of your orange hair juices. That's what he says now. But before he was saying, oh, Alvarez needs to be banned. But now his team DAZN, Tony Bellend on his knees giving it a good nosh. Yeah, no integrity. I'm sick of these big dudes. Oh, I'm a really hard boxer. But you got no integrity. What's the point being an alleged hard ass? Yeah, but then you got no integrity. What's the point in that? But anyway, back to the point. Yeah, everyone, and that's what I'm saying about Craig. Craig improved his viciousness to some extent. Did he go Nigel Benn versus McLennan? No, he didn't. He didn't proper go like that. But listen, it's horses for courses. We knew Craig Richards weren't going to be a Mike Tyson or a Nigel Benn. But he's certainly got that kept him in the fight. If he'd have come out there and tried to play pity patty the whole way, he genuinely would have lost every round. The reason he was in the fight, much like Castano was in the fight last week, was because he turned up. Craig Richards categorically turned up tonight, and I think it should have been a draw, truth be known. If we're honest with ourselves, I had some goofy in the comment section saying, oh, YB, but BUATSI schooled him. Are you joking? Yeah? And I swear to God, if Anthony Yard gonna knock the fire out of BUATSI. BUATSI looks good on the inside, yeah, against dudes like Craig Richards, who, no offense, but Craig Richards, he needs the YB in the corner, yeah, to do some technique, because them hooks, man, his elbows all caved in, and Craig Richards seriously needs to work on inside fighting technique, and the power shots, hooks and uppercuts need to whip. It was all slappy, no good. Yeah, no, all slappy, no good. Yeah, but still, I knew that before the fight, so I'm not going to sit here and say, oh well, things change. We knew he's not been the most. And to be honest with you, BUATSI weren't no much better either. It was 50-50, ain't gonna lie. You know what I'm saying? All this hype about BUATSI, he no good. And again, he looked alright. BUATSI and all the Sky guys, all the DAZN guys were sucking BUATSI off. He looked good against Craig Richards, who really don't really have much inside game at all. So, I mean, and what can we really say here? Yeah? BUATSI is a standard dude. Pretty standard dude. There's nothing special about him. But again, what I will say is, Richards, he was lacking that. He had that, at the end of the fight, he has that B-sideness about him. Oh, yeah, well, BUATSI got the win. And I get it, to be fair. I'm not a fighter, so I've never been in there and had a fight with someone and whatever. But in other sports, I've lost in other sports before, and I hate the guy. Can't stand him. If he could, honestly, there's been times here where I've lost, and if the guy could get run over, you know what I'm saying? I'd want him to get run over. So I don't get this. You've just lost again. You've just been robbed again, and oh, thanks Eddie for stitching me up again, and thanks Eddie for always treating me like a B-side, and oh, thanks Eddie, and all this. I just don't get that. Keep it to yourself. If that's how you feel, keep it to yourself, and say, or I don't know. Maybe that's just me, but it's a bit too friendly. Just a bit too friendly. Now, I'm not saying you need to pull Deontay Wilder and not shake the guy's hand, but I think that ain't gonna hurt him going forward. Carrying that spite, and although to be fair, in the 12 rounds there was spite. You could tell there was bad blood. Richards wasn't fighting like a B-side. In all fairness to him, that wasn't the problem tonight. The problem tonight was that it was 50-50. I'm not sure, and I think he did look a bit tired, as I mentioned. Now, someone actually brought this up. I didn't know this. Apparently, Craig Richards is a diabetic. Now, I'm not making no excuses, but what I'm saying is that I noticed that the fight was supposed to start at 10 o'clock. And this fight didn't start till about 11. And all of a sudden, it was already 10 o'clock yet, and Eddie Hearn was wheeling out Cameron Francis. What's that chick's name? I don't know, some next chick. I don't watch female boxing, but some next female boxer was being Chantel Cameron. Yeah, that's it. Chantel Cameron was being wheeled out at 10 o'clock. Now, my point is, if the main event's supposed to start when the main event starts. Now, to be fair to Eddie, I'm not saying Eddie fully stitched anyone up, but I'm saying that, listen, from Eddie's point of view, he probably expected a few of the other fights to go earlier. He probably expected Babik to be a 3-round fight, in which case everything would have been okay. But either way, in my opinion, yeah, the main event, it's not like it's early either. 10 o'clock's late. So if the main event's supposed to start at 10 o'clock, it starts at 10 o'clock, and put Chantel Cameron on at 11. Oops, yeah, that's what you're supposed to do. Because like I said, when you're diabetic, now I'm sure Craig Richards has that all under control, but when you're diabetic, how you manage your blood sugar levels, if you're fighting 90 minutes after or an hour later than you're supposed to be fighting and it's already late, I don't know how that works, the physiology of it. But I'm pretty sure it don't help, does it? You know what I'm saying? Of all the things that might help, I'm pretty sure that ain't one of them. Yeah, so, I'm not sure if that probably... I mean, Eddie Hearn obviously ain't going to sit there and... Eddie Hearn ain't going to cry about that, is he? You ain't going to hear Eddie Hearn crying and saying, oh, you know, Craig might be a bit more tired. He can be loving that. And that's what I mean. And I mean, Craig's got to get rid of this. And again, to be fair, they're making coin. So once again, we see that whole paradigm of, oh, well, I'm making coin, so it's all right. I'm making big coin, making lovely coin. So what does it matter? But listen, tonight was 50-50, in my opinion. To some extent, call it a robbery. It wasn't a blatant robbery, but enough of a robbery. Am I pissed off? Did I lose some coin? Listen, I lost some coin. I put some coin on Craig Richards to win on points. I put some coin on Richards. I mean, Richards to win on points was 8-1 at one point. That's what. In fact, I got in at 8.5 to 1, 8.5 to 7 and 1 of them ones. I'm not sure how it goes, but it's certainly 8-1, 8-1 for Richards to win on points. I also put some money on the draw. The draw was 50-1. I mean, or some Some sites had it 50-1. 50-1. That's just ridiculous. I don't give a F what no one. Absolutely ridiculous. Richards at 8-1, and then also Richards overall to win was 6-7-1. Ridiculous. And that shows that. And people say, oh, YB, why'd you put money on that? Well, that's the same as Bivol. Bivol was the same. And that's why you have to, these kind of ones here where it's 8-1, you have to play them. And half the time they work out. But anyway, where does BUATSI go from here? He no good, in my opinion. Yard will smoke him. Yard will smoke him. Proper. If Yard turns up, he'll smoke him. Now, don't get me wrong. If Yard turns up and tries to play touch butt, he'll get smoked himself. Do you know what I'm saying? It's as simple as that. I ain't gonna lie to you. If Yard turns up like he did against Queen Arthur in the rematch, he'll smoke BUATSI. BUATSI gets stopped. Let's not forget people as well. And the key reason I'm telling you it was a draw, yeah, was because don't forget the 7th round. The 7th round, BUATSI, or the 8th round, whatever round it was, BUATSI was out on his feet. And that's what I'm saying. If Craig Richards had more technique, as in if Craig Richards had more of that Canelo, Mike Tyson hooks and uppercuts, and obviously, people are going to laugh at that and say, oh, YB, mate, you want everyone to be like Mike. No, but I'm saying, technique, yeah, is technique. Being able to dig a hook is being able to dig a hook. No one has the IP on that. Yeah, Mike Tyson and Canelo don't have the patent which says no one else can use this. Do you understand? That's not the case. It's as simple as that. That's what we know ain't the case. Yeah? There's no case of that. So why don't these guys, I'm not sure what they do in their training, I'm not sure who training them, why aren't these guys training their hooks and their uppercuts to be more finessed? Yeah, because if he had a bit more of that finesse, BUATSI would have been out of there. But that's a key. Don't forget, people, when you actually look at, and again, I score things from a holistic view, and when you look at this fight from that point of view, a key way I score things, yeah, is who was the most damaged. Who was the most down bad in any of the rounds? I'm sorry, but it was BUATSI in that 7th round. Now, again, should Richards have capitalised on that? I think he should have. And again, Andy Lee said that if Richards had been fainting coming in, a lot of his work it looked quite laboured tonight, and it was laboured and telegraphed. It was all it's a bit off, and that's what I say about the diabetes thing. It just felt a little bit off tonight. But again, it might be the case that it's in the O2 and it's a massive fight. Although he's been in the Bivol fight and was okay, but that don't mean nothing. Anyway, bottom line is, Richards has key things he can work on going forward. This proves tonight he's at that level. I don't care what no one says. And I actually think, obviously Eddie Hearn ain't going to do it, but I actually think there's some argument for a rematch here down the line. I think, to be honest, purely from a boxing point of view, this fight should be a rematch. It was a great fight as well, don't forget. Is Eddie Hearn going to do that? Absolutely, is he not? And that's why Richards, out of 10, in the Bivol fight, I'd give him a 2 or 3 for leaving it out there. Yeah? Tonight was probably a 7 or an 8. But in these kind of fights, when you're the B-side like Richards is, you can't be leaving it at a 7 or an 8. Yes, that's an improvement from where he was. And yeah, I'm proud of the guy. Because showing improvement, it's halfway there. But what can we sit there and say Craig Richards pushed to greatness level? No. But listen, it's easy for me to say. Yeah, he looked tired, a lot more tired than he was in the Bivol fight. But again, the pace was higher. But that's a credit to both men. Richards came firing back every time. But either way, listen, in my opinion, it was a robbery. Should have been a draw, and there should be a rematch. That's the thing, you see. People say, YB, what do you mean? When B-sides are in close fights, yeah, I tend to give it to them. Why? Because then that means the rematch happens. And that's really, I feel really now, anyone honest with themselves, BUATSI did not pass that fight with flying colours. This should be a rematch now. That's what should be coming next, in my opinion. It's not going to happen, but why not? What else are you going to be doing? Fighting some bums? Yeah, BUATSI should be fighting Richards again in a rematch right now. Based on that performance. Cause it was at best, even if you're the biggest BUATSI fan, it was 60-40. I don't care. You can listen. Tony Bellew can say whatever he wants. Yeah, Tony Bellew can talk about 7 rounds all he wants. Yeah, I'm telling you what it was, and it was 60-40. If you're an absolute BUATSI #1 fangirl. Yeah, anyone else, it was 50-50. Now I'm not gonna lie. Can I sit here and tell you it was 40-60 in? Can I sit there and tell you it's 40-60 in Craig Richards' favour? Probably not. So maybe that does lean. I can say Craig Richards was 50-50 in that fight, but I can't sit there and tell you he was 60-40 up. I think I probably struggle to say that. So maybe that in itself edges it towards BUATSI. But again, when you're the A side, you'd hope so, wouldn't you? You'd hope the A side was winning 64. You know, what are we doing here? If an A side can't win 60-40, what the hell are we doing? But that's just me. I have a weird way of doing things, and I think these guys who get all this hype, man, you should show it. And if you can't show it, you need to do a rematch until you can show it, or you get your wig pushed back. Simple as that. Yeah. And anyway, but listen, like I said about the gambling part, I lost some coin on Richards. Took a gamble. It could have gone. And let's be real now. Richards tonight, he fought avidly. I'm not sure, but he fought avidly. He put a good shift in. I think that he just didn't look as sharp. Now that might be because of BUATSI was hitting him back hard, and that might be because the pace was high. But still, I think that out of 10, in terms of how sharp he was probably 7 out of 10. Why do I mention that? Well, I reckon if Richards had been on, Richards tonight, yeah, would have needed an outstanding 10 out of 10 night. You know them ones there. Some fights, yeah, some fighters are just on it. If Richards had been on it tonight, I think he'd have had the beating of BUATSI, to be honest with you. But it wasn't to be, and that's why I've put the coins on for BUATSI to win. But the reason I was proud of Richards is because going into the fight, Richards was a huge underdog, not just on the winning part, but also to be stopped. The odds were the odds were 2.5 to 1 that Richards or that the fight wouldn't go the distance, and it wasn't because people thought that Richards were going to stop BUATSI. Everyone thought Richards were going to fall over. But anyway, listen. I'll tell you that because there was big odds tonight. Everyone was certain that your man's Richards would get smoked. Yeah? And he didn't do that. And that's where I actually ended up being net better off. Because I made a whole bunch of bank betting on Richards making the distance. Everyone thought Richard were going to get smoked, so I praise him for that. Because he could have turned up tonight and just jumped on the floor like a lot of bums do. He didn't do that. He fought, and he did. I'd say he tried to be great tonight. He didn't die. He wasn't dying to be great like Castaño was. Castaño was prepared to go out, and he went out. Richards weren't there yet. He weren't there, but he weren't far off. So fair play to the guy, man. He made some good coin, and whatever else. But yeah, let's see what goes on from here, no doubt.